I come from a very small town in the North Coast Peninsula that goes into the Caribbean Sea in Colombia. Alea is my artist name. I just wanted something to signify everything that I wanted to do in music, and Alea just came to be that name.
When we've done the work that we've done here around Latin theater and reaching out to the Latinx community, I've realized that there's a huge and rich, diverse population of Latins here in this part of New Jersey, and a wonderful mix of the cultures. So our Plaza series is trying to represent as much of that as we can.
I graduated in communications in Colombia, and then somehow I got to get here to Berklee College of Music, which is where I finished jazz composition and performance, and then made it to New York. The moment I decided to leave for the United States, I had already decided I'm going to make a career out of music. Every step of the way, the classes, the piano, the dance, branding, creating a video, all of that was part of the same decision.
I have family in different parts of Mexico where the Native American and West African music get mixed, where the Andalusian music and Gypsy music get mixed. So I start traveling around Mexico. After that, I start traveling more in the world, looking for these roots that comprise our Latin American folkloric music.
All these important mixtures, we call it mestizaje, really influences who I am. I wanted to bring more of my roots into my music, and that's how I met Sinuhé. Because this guy is super dedicated, not only to music, but with this love for culture and for understanding how music and culture develop together. So we started kind of brainstorming. And then we got to this song called Échale Sal, which means add salt. And Échale Sal is the first song that we really co-wrote. It was so different from what I had in my head and from what he had in his head. We basically went for a curulao and a huapango. Curulao from Colombia, Pacific Coast, huapango from Mexico, and added to that a little bit of funk, a little bit of salsa, some R&B to it.
Te cuento que de aquí, de donde menos lo espera, nace un groove, un sonsoneo de esas puertas viejas. Ese traque-tra del tren que lleva.
Échale Sal has really connected with people because it talks about immigration. Si por siglos siempre la gente va buscando un vivir diferente. If by centuries people have been passing and crossing and traveling, trying to look for a different way of living, why is this wrong? It's our nature to migrate. It's our nature to look for better opportunities and to add your own sauce and to add that beautiful part of you to the land where you get to and just, make it better.
A city with many different cultures has a lot of spices. So salt is the salt. Bring the salt. It's offer what you have, enrich the communal culture, and learn from the other cultures. It's not I put the flavor. No, it's bring the flavor together and cook it.
I love that about Sinuhé and Alea, that they come from very specific places and they sort of unearth their cultures in a particular way, but they mix it together and kind of make this new American thing happen.
It's really important to have the two schools in every traditional music. One school is conservative, needs this has to be like this and has to have these elements, because if you change that elements, music change. That's true, and we need that people. And also we need the people that, but it's still alive. And if it's not growing, if it's not taking new influences, talking about what we are now, it's gonna die. So you can't just live in one of the sides. You need the balance between both. Alea came from La Guajira in North Colombia. One of the traditional genres play over there is the vallenato.
Crecí escuchando los cuentos de mi padre cantador. Sembró poesía con mi.
There are not very many women that represent vallenato because our culture is very chauvinist. I have understood this since I was little, so for me that was kind of hard because I didn't want to write something that made me mad. These songs, some of them were called piquerias, which is kind of a way of like narrating in a poetic way my own take and lyrics about my family, about my land. I wanted to kind of reconnect to it and see it in a way that wasn't this negative version of what I had grown up with, but see the beauty of it. My grandfather, who's like such a gentleman, my dad, so many that are just so amazingly passionate about vallenato, and that's what we did with Aire Guajiro.
This is a vallenato with New York sound. We live in New York, we have that influences to bring to the genre, with all respect. We just want to represent what we are.
Una letra muy sentida que el sereno armonizaba mientras se asomaba el día.
Many of our genres have transformed and changed over time because that's what music does. That's the only way to move forward.
Sombra del mar me sigue por donde quiera y con obstinación y por quererte olvidar.
It's important to celebrate where you come from, but then it's also really important to bring it to where you are and to connect with the people where they are. Especially in a crowd that has never heard of any of this, and something connects because music has this powerful thing where you don't need to understand the words. All you gotta do is feel it. You know, I wanna be that bridge. I don't wanna just hold on to it forever and not let it move forward. And I just hope that people will see the positive that I'm trying to do.
Desesperación. Thank you. Pasé? I've asked them if I passed the test.